Good morning. So, verbal section strategy for cat. And I don't even know if you have already been preparing for cat since some time, or did you just wake up with my good morning? But in either case, I just hope the next 5, 7, 10 minutes help both of you. So, when you talk about strategy, tell me one thing. What do you look forward to in a strategy? Because if I were you, I would look forward to measurable outcomes. What is measurable? Your cat percentile is measurable. So, how do I target the higher percentiles? You can look at the analysis of CAT 2016. It is definitely there in one of the videos on our own channel. And now you can ask yourself, if you had to choose between two scenarios. Scenario 1, you have your CAT verbal section, 34 questions, 60 minutes. Out of those 34 questions, I said scenario 1, all you have to do is attempt 20 questions and get all of them correct in those 60 minutes. Vis-a-vis scenario 2, out of those 34 questions, you look forward to attempting 28 only because you are an optimist who thinks unless you attempt 28, you will not be able to get that net score of 20 correct because there is an accuracy factored in, but you are looking at 28 questions to be answered in 60 minutes. Now you ask yourself, which of these two scenarios would you prefer on your actual CAT? So, the section strategy should ideally be focused on developing this thing called accuracy, and let's be very honest, this accuracy is what drives your confidence way beyond anything else, way beyond any analysis. So, as I said, I have 3 months. Where do I start? I start with my CAT 2016 analysis, and it said the verbal section had 34 questions divided into 2 parts, 24 questions in reading comprehension, 10 questions in verbal ability. All of these 10 questions key in type. What are the positives of a key in type question? There is no negative marking. Are there any negatives of the key in type question? Obviously. What could be the negative of a key in type question? People get overexcited and they lose their time and they forget that they could have actually managed their time well between these RCs and these key in questions. Further bifurcation. RCs, you had 15 direct questions, 5 indirect questions and 4 tricky questions. In the key in question types based on verbal ability, you had 3 questions which asked you to select the best summary, 3 questions that asked you to identify the sentence that was out of context, and 4 questions that asked you to rearrange jumbled up sentences to create a coherent paragraph. Now, let me be very honest. Let's not be myopic with our predictions for this year. CAT 2015, the verbal section seemed to be moderately difficult. CAT 2016, the verbal section seemed easy. I am really not betting on what it would be this year, which is why I would rather prepare for everything possible. 1. 2. What has been consistent with the verbal section on CAT for so many years now? CAT has always been a reading intensive test, which means in the next 3 months, the one thing that I have to do is keep on reading. And when I say keep reading, I'm not asking you to develop any sort of an affection or a liking towards a variety of texts. All I'm asking you instead is develop a sort of desensitization, a sort of the ability to not feel shocked if you come across a passage on relativism or objectivism on your passage on the CAT, despite knowing the only time you'll probably read these words is your CAT. So, that was my point. Whatever you read, develop a sort of familiarity so that as much as possible, nothing shocks you, and even if it does, please remember, common sense says what is a passage is merely a cluster of 500 words. 1. And two, you can always leave that weird passage unattempted. There's no reason to get into a passage that you don't like. But that is the actual CAT day. Right now, all I'm focused on is reading. When I talk about reading, I said read diverse. Also, try reading passages, articles, blogs on certain websites, and there are a lot of them. One of my favorite websites is Arts and Letters. What do I get out of these reading? I'm looking at text that is written in a sort of a logical fashion, where ideas are shaped, they are actually put together to give you an overall picture, and everything is logical. That helps me develop my anticipatory reading skills, which will eventually reflect in how well do I understand transitions when I read a passage on my CAT, how well do I understand logical continuation questions, and yes, I'll keep coming back to these questions which were not on the CAT last year but have been a part of CAT in the last 5-6 years, and as I said, you never know if they'll turn up on the CAT this year. So logical continuation, understanding transitions or the overall structure of the passage. Obviously, the one question that was there on CAT last year and the preceding year, what we call out of context or logical discontinuity. And along with the quality in reading, develop stamina. Develop the ability to what I call surviving long text. And also, if reading helps you to identify things that you like, great. People say don't develop preferences. I'll say develop preferences. Have those topics that you like. Yes, you should avoid developing dislikes. You should avoid making a list of topics that you don't like. These will create unnecessary biases which will hamper your overall performance on the actual test day. I mean, I've already said that you'll be appearing for CAT. You'll not be appearing for a roadies demo where you'll have to undertake every dare that is thrown at you. So the first month, I am completely focused on my reading skills, reading diverse. At the same time, as I said, develop your stamina, read for long hours, do not develop dispreferences, and whatever you read, try to focus on understanding as much as possible without trying to understand everything, because the second case can at times subconsciously develop dislike towards what you're reading. And my experience with life says, if you like what you read, you will need no other incentive for reading. At the same time, if you read anything just for the heck of CAT, no problems. Read it for 10 or 15 minutes because that is the total duration you'll spend reading a passage on CAT. Read it for 10 or 15 minutes and leave it. Now, along with reading comes solving. And when you solve, because this is just the first month, we still have 2 more months to go. When you solve strategically. What does that mean? From day one itself, start classifying questions. I know that on my RCs, I have direct questions and I have indirect questions. The difference between the two, a vast difference. In a direct question, I can locate where is the answer in the passage. In an indirect question, I know it is related to the text in the passage, but I also know that the correct answer choice is not directly given in the passage, and therefore searching for the answer in the passage is only going to cost you a lot of time. Instead, learn how to relate the text in the answer choices as a logical representation of the text given in the passage instead of a mere rephrase. So you start classifying your questions into direct and indirect, and you make it a habit for every direct question that you see where the question stem tells you where is the answer. The question stem has a word, you can find the word in the passage, read that part, come back to the answer choices, select the correct answer. For all of such questions, make it a habit of solving it in 1 minute. Indirect questions, on the other hand, how do you develop accuracy? My recommendation is focus on elimination. It is wonderful if you come at an answer option. It is even more wonderful if you know that the answer choice that you have selected is correct because the other 3 are wrong and you also know why. And if this means your time taken for an indirect question goes up to 3 minutes, I am totally fine with it. This effort, this time that you're investing into indirect questions right now is definitely going to help you a lot in the coming months with everything that is considered difficult, tricky, disliked by most of the CAT takers. Next, I talked about stamina while reading. Now let's have stamina while solving also. How do I develop stamina while solving? Whenever I sit for solving passages, I should sit for at least 30 minutes at a stretch. Because on the actual test day, I'll be sitting for 60 minutes. I have to start with 30 minutes. 30 minutes, somewhere around 12 to 15 questions, somewhere around 80% to 90%, obviously 100%, but at least an 80% accuracy. If getting an 80% accuracy means you're able to get only 12 questions, you're able to attempt only 12 questions correct in those 30 minutes, I'm fine with it. Get the accuracy in place. 1. 2. Develop concentration. The ability to focus. A very innocuous habit can destroy your ability to focus. And that habit is looking at the answer key. People have the tendency of looking up the answer key every 2-3 questions or after finishing a passage only because it makes them feel good. Avoid. CAT is never going to give you an answer key. You will have a question, you will solve the question, you will arrive at an answer, and all you have after answering that question is yourself and your confidence. You don't have the answer key. So learn to back up your answer with your confidence, not with the answer key. Solve for 30 minutes, take it at a stretch, then check the answer key so that you can also do my third part of the strategy, which is identifying trends. See what are the trends. Are there qualitative trends? Are you making mistakes with a particular question type? Are there quantitative trends? Do you make too many mistakes when you try to rush up things? Are there other trends? Does it happen that when you start solving passages towards the end, maybe in a 30-minute stretch, the third passage that you take up, actually you make too many mistakes? Look for these trends because these trends will help you to identify work over the next 2 months. So it is fine if you give your first month only to reading practice. If you want to start solving also simultaneously, equally fine with me, make it untimed. Focus only on accuracy. If that means you take 30 minutes to solve a passage, I am still fine with it. These 30 minutes will come down to 10. But if you start with an accuracy of 50%, it will not go up to 100%. So first month done, I come to my second month and now I start doing things in a timed manner. As I said earlier, now I am way more finicky about my stamina. I give myself 30 minutes, I give myself 3 passages, as I said earlier, 12 to 15 questions, and at least an 80%, ideally 100%, best case 90% accuracy. And after I am done solving, one more important input here. Whatever you solve, please ensure the material that you're solving has explanations, because you will learn from those explanations. If these are good quality explanations, you will learn why a particular answer choice is correct, why the others are incorrect. This is important for passages. This is way more important for the verbal ability questions that we are about to come up with. Second month, you do it at 30 minutes, 3 passages, 12 to 15 questions. In the third month, yes, you can make it a 40, 45, 50 minute effort. You can make it 60 minutes, try to finish 5 passages. If you make it 40 minutes, you should be able to attempt at least 5 passages with 20 questions with another 90% accuracy. If you think I sound unrealistic right now, well, what is unrealistic for one is aspirational for the other. It is this aspirational lot that will reach those higher percentiles. Then comes our second part, the verbal ability questions. For these questions, your reading is already helping you indirectly. Directly start practicing. Break down the practice into 4 parts. The first 3 parts will be the questions that were tested last year, which means when you practice summary questions, try to practice around 5 to 7 questions over a duration of 20 to 30 minutes. What do I do with my summary questions? When I read a summary and I come to the answer choices, I look at first, words that seem related to the passage but are totally unrelated, words that introduce extraneous ideas. Second, I look at sentences that distort the overall idea. I have already been practicing it. In fact, I get simultaneous practice of such sentences which distort the idea in my inferential questions in the RCs. The ability to identify major ideas and minor ideas will develop gradually. Don't worry about it. As long as you are good with these two reasons of elimination, everything else will slowly and gradually fall into place. Out of context questions and sentence jumbling questions. Focus on identifying those transition words or those conjunctions that help you to relate two sentences, that help you to understand how a group of sentences can be rearranged to create a coherent paragraph. The same thing will help you to understand why one sentence would not fit into a paragraph made by the other three. And because most of the material that you practice will have ready-made options for these two question types, specifically sentence jumbling questions, my recommendation is, as long as we expect CAT to repeat its format, when you solve sentence jumbling questions, focus on finding a link between as many sentences as possible. Do not go by the options. It might take time, but it will definitely help you a lot in the long run. Am I saying we should target 100% accuracy on sentence jumbling questions? Yes, I am saying we should target 100% accuracy on sentence jumbling questions. Take 5 to 7 questions. Give yourself 30 minutes. We are still in the first month. Let the confidence come in. I said these are the questions which can be a double-edged sword. Let them work in your favor on the actual test, not become the questions where you want to attempt them because there is no negative marking, but you lose your time trying to answer these questions. So 5 to 7 questions, 30 minutes. Now what do? I said 4 parts in my verbal ability. What is my fourth part? My fourth part is my H, because there is a CAT. And I said CAT is never unpredictable, but it has complete discretion to include question types from a variety of concepts. Which means I want to ensure I split my time 70-30. If I am going to give half an hour to 1 hour to my passages, if I am going to give another half an hour to 1 hour to my verbal ability questions of these 3 types, I should give another 45 minutes to 1 hour to the question types that were a part of verbal reasoning section or the verbal ability section earlier on CAT, even if they have not appeared in the last 2 years. I am referring to logical continuation, I am referring to error detection, I am referring to text completion, I am referring to vocabulary based questions, because I said CAT tests the managerial skills in you, and the best manager is the manager who prepares for contingencies. It might be an additional investment if CAT 2017 comes up with these questions. I am very sure you will feel great about this additional investment. Even if CAT does not come up with these questions, it is still a good practice, because the best part about the verbal reasoning or the verbal ability section on CAT is almost everything is related so intricately that it synergizes at the end of the day. You have 3 months, you have almost 100 days. I really hope going ahead in the next 3 months, you will focus on developing the basic skills, which are stamina, focus and accuracy, to moving in the second month to balancing your accuracy and your stamina, to moving to the third month and practicing almost every day like you are giving a CAT every day. I really hope this video helps you. If you have any comments, please post them in the section below. Good luck for your CAT and your XAT and everything ahead. Thank you.